Alongside Wonder Egg Priority, Mushoku Tensei was one of the sleeper hits of winter 2021 and managed to wow just as many viewers with its incredible production as it put off with its perverted protagonist and portrayal of characters' lust. Regardless of whether the narrative itself bothered the audience, however, the anime has garnered near-universal praise for its incredible visuals, smooth and almost completely consistent animation, and basically just every element that didn't have to do with the more adult themes. And for me, one of the best parts of the show was its handling of the opening, treating it almost as an introductory piece of background music while the anime simply played out like normal, giving viewers a reason to listen to it each time it actually played. The only other anime I can remember doing this consistently was Aria, which I absolutely loved for all 3 seasons, and for the first episode of World End, which I can't think of anymore without immediately wanting to listen to Scarborough Fair. And while I'm sure other shows have done this before, the reason I specifically remember Aria's, World End's first episodes, and now Mushoku Tensei's openings is because they're also amazing songs. So let's have a look and listen to how Mushoku Tensei's modern minstrel tune helped shape the foundation of the show it would accompany. Mushoku Tensei's opening, Tabibito no Uta, was composed by Ohara Yuiko, who many will recognize as the singer for shows like Little Witch Academia, Karakai Jouzu no Takagi-san, and Land of the Lustrous, among quite a few others. Much to my surprise, she is not only the singer and lyricist for nearly all of her songs, but the composer as well, making her not just an incredible performer, but an amazing all-around musical creative. J-pop singers aren't particularly well known for writing their own music, especially idols, and even less so do we find people like Ohara Yuiko, who can write music that is simultaneously catchy and deceptively complex and perform it without hesitation. The general sound of Tabibito no Uta is reminiscent of folk music, mixing and switching a Dorian scale into our E-flat minor key by way of the occasional sharp 6, in this case a C natural. In the song's intro segment, this is cleverly hidden in the bass guitar's rhythms, setting it up as a way to suspend the descending bass line for an extra measure and add a bit of intrigue to the arrangement without seeming out of place with what we expect to hear. On top of the bass line, our opening E-flat minor key is changed into an E-flat mixolydian key, giving it the uplifting sound of a major scale while utilizing the flat 7, D-flat, in conjunction with the C natural that naturally occurs in said key. Descending bass lines are already extremely common in all kinds of music, and the ambiguity of our key outside of being some sort of E-flat allows the C natural to slip in discreetly, cluing us into the folk sound being established while also keeping us engaged for the resolution from C to C-flat. This pattern repeats and ends on a triumphant resolution to E-flat major, utilizing a few cooldown measures to lead into the first verse. We can look at this uplifting first section as a representation of the protagonist's rebirth in this fantasy world as Rudius Greyrat. The song opens with an ominous otherworldly handpan solo, creating an air of mystery that reflects both the terrible life he was living before and the strange magic that led him to be reborn in the fantasy world. The shift from the ominous handpan into a major key filled with uplifting voices and instruments shows this rebirth as a way for him to start fresh and leave his old life behind. The tin whistle and fiddle-esque violin draw the connection this new world has to a fantastical equivalent of medieval Europe, aptly reflecting the standard notion of fantasy we and Rudy are familiar with. This intro section is only about 20 seconds long, but we've already managed to establish the musical setting and the circumstances for the protagonist's rebirth as Rudy. Of course, a lot of this is thanks to Ohara Yuiko's clever composition, but another huge contributor here is arranger Manyo, whose list of composition and arranging works is so long I don't even know where to begin. I talked a bit about him in Maeda Jun's and Yanagi Nagi's opening for Kamisama ni Natta Hi, and there are many similarities here, with the folk-like sounds of the tin whistle and violin serving similar but different roles. While it's hard to say whether the instrumentation choices were Manyo's or Ohara's decisions, it's clear that the the much more acoustic sound presented here than in Manyo's work on Kimi to Yu Shinwa was well crafted and thought out, given the significantly different settings of both stories. Moving into the first verse, the key returns to the opening E-flat minor, reducing the arrangement down to a simple guitar line and muffled rhythm to accompany Ohara's singing. This reduction gives off the impression of a traveling bard strumming on a lute while she walks down a dirt road. The lyrics also reflect this sort of traveling bard-like imagery, weaving together a tale more like a lyrical riddle than a song. Our Dorian-sounding C natural accompanies the first line, Osoreru nara, if you feel afraid, setting up the journey to go beyond the mountains with Yama o koete yuke. While the vocal line sounds dark, utilizing the melodic minor's sharp 7 for an unresolved half step from E-flat to D natural, the setup in the guitar and cadential piano chord outline a rising harmony, shifting the E-flat from minor to major by way of E-flat minor, which sounds dark, G-flat major, which sounds light, A-flat major, implying an E-flat major key change with the C natural, and B-flat major, which reinforces the major sound that could move to E-flat minor or major just as equally, as both utilize the same set of notes in the B-flat major triad. This presents a more journey-like quality, as the option of moving back to minor or major seems like a fork in the road, or more metaphorically, like a point at which Rudy can return to the comfort and safety of his home, or make something of himself by moving on. This harmonic sequence from E-flat minor to B-flat major repeats twice more, presenting the question to Rudy as he continues to rely on his safety net out of fear of what waits beyond as a result of his past life's trauma. The lyrics Michitarinu kokoro ni translate to for the unfulfilled heart, referencing the regrettable way Rudy lived in his previous life while preparing to offer a solution. Here the tin whistle joins back in, along with an accordion to add some more musical texture and drama, and doubling down on the folk sounds. In response to the unfulfilled heart, the solution comes in the form of Afuredasu mizu ga iyashiatai. The overflowing water will grant solace, now referencing Rudy's affinity for magic, with water being the first that he gains mastery over. In this overflowing water half of the line, the bass guitar joins back in, giving us a chromatic descent to sonically represent overflowing water spilling out. During the solace's granted half, we take the opposite approach, moving in a diatonic rising motion from C-flat major up to D-flat 7, suspending the music in anticipation for what seems to be a hopeful cadence into the chorus. And it delivers, resolving up to G-flat major 7 and changing our key from its ambiguous E-flat to a more decisive E-flat Dorian. But while we've shifted to a more grounded key, the music remains as ambiguous as it can by never resolving back down to a tonic E-flat chord, instead hovering around G-flat, A-flat, and B-flat minor. This matches the more dreamlike quality of the lyrics, changing from an abstract riddle directly related to Rudy's new life into something even less concrete. The first line, 想像の上誰も立てぬ場所, beyond imagination, in a place with no one else, could be a literal reference to the moment where Rudy encounters the godlike being within his own mind, or it could be a more metaphorical reference to the situation he finds himself in, as he is the only person who could understand his circumstances in this fantasy world, and no amount of explaining could possibly make sense to those around him. The last line has the most abstract lyrics, 慈しみ一つ恋しさを持てば手にする愛, which translates roughly to something like, if you hold on to something you cherish, this is love, though the this is love part transliterates to obtained love or a love held in one's hands, said in a way that implies the person holding on does not understand that their actions are a sign of affection and that they've quote-unquote received love. Given that the anime still hasn't gotten far enough to show what this love or affection might be to Rudy, and I haven't read the source material, I can't give much of an explanation for what this might mean in the grand scheme of the series. That said, I can't really complain, as it makes me more intrigued to find out and pretty excited for the second season. On the musical side of things, our pattern of G-flat, A-flat, B-flat minor repeats for the first half of the line, but upon reaching the final word I, meaning love, our B-flat minor is now replaced with a B-flat major, giving the music an uplifting lilt as it shifts its sequence into a temporary E-flat major key, also making use of a flat 2 so that every chord is major. Obviously, this is the climax of the music, and it also gives hope that whatever this love Rudy is going to obtain, or simply come to understand, is something uplifting and worth celebrating over. Yet despite this happiness, the piece comes to the end of its run by circling around its major chord progression only to land on a B-flat minor 9 right at the end, leaving an extremely open-ended chord and a piano flourish to lead back into the show, almost as if to say that now that you've heard the opening, the real adventure awaits. Now, this only covers the 90-second TV opening version, but I can say with certainty that it covers pretty much all of the musical sections most relevant to the anime and in somewhat of a unique way compared to other anime openings. Where most openings simply take the first verse and chorus, ending the song there, Tabibito no Uta is comprised of a hybrid of the first verse, first chorus, final chorus, and a shortened ending segment. This in itself almost serves as a teaser for the full song, allowing more inclined listeners to discover more interesting aspects of the full version. I have no idea if these sections of the song relate more to the parts of the story that haven't yet been adapted, but the full song is definitely something worth checking out if only to hear more of this awesome piece of music. I think I've said it enough, but the amount of complexity in this song on top of its fantastic arrangement and the overall sound is on another level. If there's one shortcoming, I would say that it isn't super interesting rhythmically, but this also kind of makes sense as traveling bard music is meant to be fairly straightforward and simple enough to sound as though it were made up on the spot. While this track is clearly produced and mixed professionally, it still manages to give off the vibes of bardsong without losing my interest from any sort of lack of variation, and it's one of the few times an opening on its own has gotten me hyped up for an upcoming season of a show. Ohara Yuiko has been one of my favorite J-pop singers for quite some time now, and this song just proved to me once again why she's such a force to be reckoned with, not just from a songwriting perspective, but compositionally as well. And it wasn't just the show's first opening that proved to me that she was amazing again, but also the show's ending and second opening. There's no doubt in my mind that I'm at least going to cover the ending at some point in the future. But that's all I've got for today, so if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment down below, subscribe to my channel, and support me over on Patreon. Thanks as always for watching, and I will see you in the next one.